What's up guys, welcome to today's video. Today's the big one, it's a doozy, but before I even get into it, and I forget, if you're new to the channel, please, I would love it if you checked everything out and subscribed. Yeah, you right there. That would be awesome if you subscribe and follow along. Our videos can help you in any way possible. All right, now on to today's video topic. Blended families, how Maritza and I met, stick with the fingers here, and how we became a blended family. Yes, it's just our testimony, and I'm not sharing it to make it some big hurrah, but the reason I am sharing our testimony is I'm realizing as we go on our journey mentoring parents is we need to share our testimony. Why? Because there's other parents and families who are also blended families. So they might be going through some stuff in their marriage, with their kids, or with their stepkids. And if you can take something from our story and it can help you and your family out in any way, then I've accomplished something with this video, and that's all I'm trying to do when I share this testimony. It's the only time you'll hear me talk about Jaden being my stepson after this video. So that is it. Here's our testimony and my side of it first. So thank you guys so much. Going down to the basement record. Don't forget to subscribe. Did I say that already? I'm bad at it. See you guys. Okay, so the video. Today's video is me and my testimony on how we met and my vantage point. And then I'll do another video on how Mari views it, because it might be a little different. Well, it's probably a lot different than how I tell my story, but that's the fun in this, is I'll tell both of our sides, and then I'll get us together for a third video and share it. And again, before you leave and be like, I don't want to hear this, please understand, I don't want to bore you with our story. There is a bigger, deeper point here of how it all happened, how it went down, and how we're still together today. So, rewind back to when I'm 25. From age 25 to about age 30, I lived in Los Angeles, Burbank specifically. I was out there, I was doing my thing. I had, some sort of modeling, acting contract, which I really don't know why, looking back now, why I was doing that. But I'm not even a partier. If you guys know me at all, like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm not a partier. I just love to have fun, I'm hyper. But LA wasn't really for me. I couldn't find love, and I couldn't find real estate, like, forget about it. So, long story short, after 5 years, I moved home back to good old Cleveland, Ohio. That is where I met Mari. 6 months after moving back to Ohio, I go to my brother's house. I see this girl in his kitchen. I'm like, who's that girl? She's beautiful. I don't know who she is, but she's beautiful. Right? That's the first thing. That's always the first thing you notice. I'm just being honest. She was beautiful. She still is. So, out of a movie, straight out of a movie, we danced, we talked, we danced, some more, we danced, and we talked. And more I talked to her, I was like, I really like this girl. I'm really clicking with this girl. And then what happens next? Everyone goes to bed. We throw on a movie, and the movie plays not once, but twice. And we basically pulled an all-nighter talking on the couch. We talked about our morals, our values, our faith, all this fun stuff we like. And then she drops this on me. She has 2 kids, and one of them is an 8-month-old. Now, not a big deal normally, but you gotta remember, I just came from living off Los Angeles lifestyle. Yes, I always wanted to be married, and I was that type of guy, but it still was something that made me step back for a second. But then I remembered she had the it. She had the it factor. And you don't mess up when God puts it in front of your blueprint of life. You just don't do that. You go after it, whatever comes with it. So I did. I didn't care. I was like, well, that's great. You got kids. I can't wait to meet them one day. So next date, we go on our first date. Went great. Went fantastic. Falling for her even more, and seeing she has the it factor even more. The next weekend we go out, another wonderful date. Things are going good. So good that I think I'm falling in love with this woman after just 2 dates. So the 3rd week of dating, we plan our 3rd date on the weekend. And I'm all set, I'm ready to go out, and I can't wait to go pick her up. And then the phone call happens, guys. And this is the phone call that changed our lives forever, and we really didn't know it. So I get a phone call, and Mari is just sobbing with tears, hysterical. She's at the hospital. Jaden, who at that time was 8 months old only, had a 30-minute seizure. Now, I'm not in the medical field. I was only 29 years old, but I do know this. I know that seizures are normally short and powerful, but for an 8-month-old to have a 30-minute seizure, I can't imagine what happened to his brain. And I'm scared out of my mind. I don't know what to say or do. I just know I have to comfort her. I have to be there for her. So I'm like, I'm coming down to the hospital. I'm gonna bring you food, and can you meet me outside? So that's what I did. That's the least I could do for her at that point. We only seen each other 2 times, really. So that's what I did. For an hour, we sat on a bench on the street late at night. We laughed. She cried. I just tried to help her forget what was going on in that hospital room, even if it was just for an hour. She told me all about the team of doctors that came into the room multiple times, trying to make sure they knew what was going on with Jaden, all the things that was happening. But again, a 30-minute seizure to an 8-month-old is very, very scary, guys. And for someone on my end, again, this is my side of the story, I mean, that was a gut check time, because when I drove home, I mean, that was me talking to God like, well, I don't know what this means, but I know it means something pretty serious for Jaden. I don't know what exactly, but I knew long term, I bet you he was affected by that. And I had a decision: do I stay or do I go? Like, do I run? Like, run fast. You're single. She's got 2 kids, right? Like, people would always tell me that. I ain't ever gonna date a woman with kids, or, you know, whatever. Especially an 8-month-old who's now just had a very serious medical condition happen to him. So I don't run. I stay, because she's got the it, and I'm madly in love with her. So what happens? Let's fast forward. 11 months go by, and we get married within a year. Things are great. She was the one, guys. It was so obvious. Because why? Because she had it. She had it. To this day, she still has it. I love this woman, and I don't regret a single thing. So we're going through all this, and we get married, and we don't know exactly what's going on with Jay, but we do know something's a little bit off with Jay. And that was okay. I didn't care, because I was in it through the thick and thin, and that is what marriage and your vows are all about, people. It's about the good and the bad, and possibly the ugly sometimes. So when we got married, there was no diagnosis, there was nothing going on like that. So then we fast forward, because I don't want to keep you too long. We fast forward to Jaden being about 3 years old, or 2 years old, 3 years old, and we're realizing there's a lot of little speech problems, there's things going on. And of course, at that time, autism was not as prevalent, and there wasn't as much information out there all over social media and internet and things like that. So, you know, more time went by that should have with figuring out maybe we should get a diagnosis. So we did, because Mari was an experienced parent. She knew at this point, hey, like, my older son's already did all these things and achieved and these goals and all this, and Jaden's not. So we go get him tested, and, well, of course, I mean, look at the name of our channel, Autism Diagnosis. Jaden was diagnosed with autism, and back then they just gave you a packet. Like, here you go, your son has autism, good luck. I mean, that's really what it was back then. It's come a long ways, but that's why we focus so much on the parent side of it, because we remember that. We remember just getting the diagnosis and being like floored, and our world just rocked and turned upside down, and we were really kind of just given like a thick, big pamphlet on what to do next. So obviously, you know, we did what we had to do. But for that year, guys, I will say this: I lost my wife for the first year, and I always tell people this. I lost her because she threw herself into anything and everything autism related, because she became Jaden's #1 advocate. And I urge all parents, you need to do that. Like, even if it's at the expense of your marriage, find a balance. But we were so clueless at that time about autism that she just had to educate herself and do what was best for Jaden. And me, on my side of things, I understood that. It was a very, very hard year because, Kevin, you are now on the back burner. And that was okay with me because I understood the big picture and what was going on with our son. So after the diagnosis, we are later then told also, when all these tests are being done, that going back to the seizure that happened when he was 8 months old, and this is actually the doctor's terminology. I think he told us in layman's terms on purpose, or he told Monty, I'm sorry, that Jaden's brain was fried. And he said basically from the 30-minute seizure, circuits were fried, again, layman's terms, for us to understand. And it's something that will never be repaired. And his IQ is extremely low, and that's something that will not change. And he's, it's just going to have to deal with that for the rest of our lives. And that's pretty much. He was a very blunt doctor, and looking back, I appreciate that because it did kind of at least prepare us and really understand how serious the situation was. So not only does Jaden have severe autism, but he has an intellectual disability from that seizure on date number 3. So guess what? Now that you guys have heard the story, and if you never did know, what does that make Jaden? Well, technically, by law, that makes Jaden my stepson, and so as well as Julian. But when I married her, they became my kids. Those are my boys. So I don't really like to talk about that on the channel. Jaden's my son, Julian's my son, and Sebastian's my son. But legally, by law, if I'm telling our testimony, then yes, I do state that Julian and Jaden are my stepkids, and Sebastian is my biological child. And I realize now, the more we go on, the reason I'm making this video is because there's not a lot of stepdads who stay involved in a special need child's life, or stay with that woman, or vice versa, a woman staying with a man. And I didn't know that at the time. I just was like, well, I love her, I'm gonna stay with her, because that's what you do, right? But as time passed, I've realized a lot of people leave, whether it's the male or the female. One person normally does leave, and it's very sad, and I've talked about that before in other videos about divorce rates, like skyrocketing when you have a special needs kid. But it never went through my mind, guys. It's never gone through my mind once. I understand that Jaden is my son, that I will have to take care of Jaden the rest of his life with Marty. And that's okay. It's no one's fault. It's not Jaden's fault. It's not our fault. Life happened. A seizure happened. Autism happened. Things happen, and that's okay. What we have to do now is be a team for our family and be strong and do what's best for the kids. I mean, that's really it, guys. That's how life works, whether your kid has special needs or not. You do what's best. You are the rock of the family. And if you guys crumble and fall apart, well, then the whole family falls apart. So that's where we're at. We're 11 years in. I'm madly in love with my wife still, and I got 3 boys that I love. But yes, on the technical side, Jaden is my stepson. So I don't ever really talk about it, and you probably won't hear me talking about it too much more on here. But for this video, I wanted to share our testimony. I hope I didn't bore you too much, but it's just something that's different. And when I go, or when we go out in public and we share that story, it's awesome, and it's amazing to see that there are other couples out there that are similar. And after we speak, they're like, oh my gosh, like one guy came up to me, he's like, I'm a stepdad, just starting my journey with my wife, and I didn't think I could do it. Like, I just didn't think, because I was so overwhelmed with all of the stuff that comes with it. And he goes, but hearing your story, it was like hearing our story, and now I think, like, I can do it. And that's what it's like, that's what it's about. That's what everyone's testimonies are about. It's not about talking about yourself. It's about using your testimony to help others. And that's what we try to do here on this channel, and that's what I'm trying to do with this video. And I'm sorry if it's running long. I don't mean to bore you, but it's something I wanted to get out there. And that's just pretty much the story of how I met Mari, who had 2 kids that became my kids. So, thank you for bearing with my story as always. I know I ramble sometimes, and a lot of people don't like watching videos if there's not a child with autism in it, but our channel is a mix of everything. So I hope my side of the story kind of explains a little and can help someone out there in the world, whoever you are, find the confidence, find the peace, find the faith that you can get through anything with the one you love. Because again, if I did it and if we did it, you guys can do it too. All right, thank you guys so much for listening to my side of the story. I'm sure Mari's side is going to be way better than mine. Probably shorter too because I ramble. But you guys are the best. Thank you. God bless. Love ya. And we'll talk to you soon. All right.